Miguel, I saw in your piece on the Independent today that you said even Liverpool had looked at Amorim and thought he was a brilliant coach, but they figured they would have to spend hundreds of millions to shape
Yeah.
the squad to suit his ideology. It's like, and that proved to be a fairly smart decision. Your sense of how Amorim plays out, how likely United are to take Damien's nuclear option, or what's going to happen here?
Well, I mean, right now, all suggestions are that they're doubling down. I mean, and look, as I say in that piece as well, like Ratcliffe has spoken about this so much. Like he's almost kind of cornered himself, and actually in a few ways because it's financial as well. And it's funny just on what Damien's saying there about kind of the nuclear option, because I kind of touched on that towards the end of the piece as well. I was talking to a chief executive at another club after the game last night who has kind of worked with a few people at United, and they were raising exactly that point. I mean, look, say, and there is a comparison. People can maybe laugh at Arsenal this season. I know they have provoked a lot of kind of jokes and discussion that way, and there's been debate about whether Arteta can take them to the next level. But Arsenal basically went from a basket case and a similar kind of banter club, if you like, to challengers for the title, Champions League semi-finalists by exactly that. They've actually made a sort of a kind of a counterintuitive investment by being willing to basically just get rid of the wages of Mesut Ozil and Aubameyang and players like that,
Okay.
change the dressing room, and they really kind of doubled down on exactly that, young players. And the point the executive made to me is, and it touches on what Damien was saying, the only way you change a culture, especially one that's as toxic as United, is and rebuild a proper connection with the fans, is get in young players who aren't there isn't that perception that they're overpaid. They don't have baggage. They come in and they're hungry. And again, as Damien says, it might lead to a lot of inconsistency, some pain, but at least there's hope for the future. And if you're going to spend, complement that with leaders rather than necessarily elite players. It's what you need for the moment, and it's why some of the United's business already I do actually find a little bit surprising. I mean, 2 months ago, Ratcliffe gave an interview where he was talking about how Manchester United missed a data revolution in football, and he pointed like kind of Brentford and Brighton. And now this summer, which is the first major summer under Amorim, which is supposed to be kind of like almost a blank slate summer, to start again. Their main targets are Cunha and Delap, both good players, both who could do well. But like, I mean, you don't exactly need scouting to go and look. Well, they
No,
might suit Manchester United. You don't
no.
need data for that. And as a consequence, they're very expensive. So that already feels a little bit strange in that sense, especially given how limited their budget is. And just yeah, on the question you actually asked, um, like I think Amorim's clearly, as given what we saw what he did at Sporting. A lot of major clubs liked him before United appointed him. Liverpool one, Barcelona, and City others. I think there's clearly a bright coach in there, but it does feel like right now, especially at United, he needs perfect conditions or close to perfect conditions to succeed. And United won't be able to give him that for some time. And the road there could be difficult. And it's like from talking to people last night after the game, there were two things as well that are a bit alarming. I think that I put in that piece. One was detail was given about the transfer, or sorry, the program in January. So this was the first time that Amarim come in, and finally they had a bit of a break between games, and there was a bit of surprise that he was doing what was like described to me as, I'm sure Damien's more than familiar with all his terminology. And it was 5 day lead into games. It was 4 consecutive days, whether doing like endurance work or strength work. And like the way this was put to me was it was the type of approach that works that can work very well if you're one of the big three in Portugal when half your games are against in clubs you should beat regardless, and you run about 10 kilometers less a match, but is a bit antithetical to English culture. Is kind of it's in the intensity of the Premier League, and in that situation, apparently according to UEFA studies, it does increase injury risk. And then the second one that was put to me about this was that it's not just a case of playing three at the back. His specific, and I'd be interested in what Damien thinks it is, that his specific interpretation of three at the back, and this is where we're getting into details that are kind of, I suppose, beyond some journalists like myself, but his specific interpretation has worked in Portugal, in Italy, or sorry, it exists in Portugal and Italy, and that's it. It hasn't really spread around the rest of Europe and remains untested in England. And as was put to me, it can work, but it needs a lot of support that Manchester United might necessarily be able to actually offer in the immediate future.